So a few observations that I would like to let you know. Every day the recording happens in the cloud. Okay, so as soon as the recording is done, I'll be sharing this recording to Visual Path. I'll be sharing this recording to Harsha Training also as well, and I will be sharing this recording to the people who have joined from my side. Okay, so as I mentioned, today, tomorrow, and Friday, we are going to have the sessions from 8:30 EST to 9:30 EST. That is happening, but the daylight savings are expected to come. So we need to check whether we need to have the same timing, or otherwise we need to move 1 hour ahead. So that is one thing that we'll be discussing on Friday. Friday time means Friday US time is Saturday Indian morning time. Okay, so we'll discuss and then we'll take it from there. Okay. So Susmita, Sunita, Sirisha, Sahajagaru, and Kamalakar. Okay. So yesterday we were discussing about the cloud computing, because Snowflake happens to be a cloud-based data warehouse, as well as Snowflake happens to be software as a service. So that's the reason we are going to we started covering the cloud concepts yesterday, and we discussed what is the main difference between the traditional and on-premise and cloud environment. Okay, as well as we discussed what are the advantages of having the cloud computing. We discussed those things, and we are going to complete this covering this cloud computing concepts today. And tomorrow onwards, what we were doing is we'll be seeing the data warehousing concepts tomorrow that are essentially required for the purpose of getting started with the Snowflake. Okay, and one more thing is that I am hearing a couple of comments and recommendations from the people saying something like, is SQL really required? Yes, I told you, right? Snowflake happens to be a SQL-based relational data warehouse. Obviously, what we are going to do is that we'll be dealing with a lot of SQL in this particular classes. So that's the reason I'm not really going to teach separate SQL classes basically, but we'll be doing all these particular SQL classes within the session itself. Within the session, as we proceed with respect to this Snowflake concepts. Okay, by the time you complete your course, you will be able to understand what type of SQL is really required in order to work with Snowflake. So there is 80%, 80-20 rule, right? So 80% of SQL can be done by knowing these 20% of those documents. Okay, so all those particular things we'll be looking into before we get into the Snowflake thing. Okay, now, and we'll be doing only the SQL here. We won't be doing any crazy Informatica type of thing like using the graphical user interface for the purpose of drag and drop something. We'll not be doing, because we'll be doing these things only with the help of SQL coding only. Okay, that is one thing that I want to clarify to you also as well. So thanks for joining, Ravikumar. May I know like what's your background and all? Okay, thank you. So going into this cloud service deployment, just to reiterate the few things yesterday, we have seen a cloud is having an unlimited on-demand services that we can use. So we also started seeing like in cloud, there are a couple of things that are really important, right? What are the things that are really important? Compute is very much required. Storage is required. Okay, database is required, and networking is required. These are the 4 things that are really required in order to start with cloud computing. So that's the reason Yesterday we discussed something like the legacy versus the traditional environment, what exactly is happening, and we discussed something called as capital intensive, right? Uh, Capital intensive means we discussed about there is a lot of investment that you need to make before you make a choice. That's why it is treated as capital intensive. That is what is called as capital expenditure. Okay. Now another thing is that since you own all this particular infrastructure, whenever they happens to be out of date, whenever they expire, the only thing that you can do is that you need to trash them. Okay, that's the reason what we do is that we really don't want to maintain any infrastructure on premise in your office or in your data center. That's the reason what happens is that everything happens to be within this particular cloud environment only. The only thing that what you need to have is that you need to have this internet. Once you have this particular internet, you will be able to do any type of applications. Like you want to do shopping, you want to do purchasing, you want to do banking, you want to do anything for that particular matter, anything can be done with the help of this internet. All these particular services happens to be provided only with the help of the cloud. All these things happens to be provided only with the help of the cloud. So we discussed something like we have something like rapid elasticity. What is that rapid elasticity? You can expand your resources whenever there is a requirement, as well as you can contrast those resources whenever your requirement is less. That is what is called as rapid elasticity, which is something like a rubber band. And measured service, I have told you, you will be paying for only what you are going to use. You'll be paying for only what you are going to use. That particular thing also we have discussed. So these are all the different comparisons between a traditional computing along with cloud computing here. This is on-demand self-service. This requires human involvement. Resource pooling. Kamalakar, can you tell me what exactly is this resource pooling?
ప్లీజ్ మోక్ష నాకు ఆ పిల్ల తినలేదు
Okay. So here resource pooling means when you have a computer that is available within cloud, you are not only the person who will be utilizing. Okay, you have utilized your compute service, and then your requirement is completed. Then you can return it to the cloud once again. So once you return it to the cloud, that will be utilized by another people also as well. That means that you are not the single and sole owner of your services in the cloud. So many people across the globe will be utilizing and sharing those resources. So when you have having something like 10 terabyte of RAM, or else if you're having something like 100 terabytes of hard disk, you are not the sole proprietary owner of that particular memory. Multiple users will be utilizing that one. That's the reason we call this one as resource pooling, and then it is a major service. These are the things that we discussed yesterday. And then we also discussed something like examples and benefits of cloud computing. Told you, right? The only thing is there is no need for you to worry about the backend infrastructure that is really required. The only thing is when you are using your Gmail service or Dropbox service, you can simply use them and then say, hey, this is the way I'm using this Gmail service. This is the way I'm using my Dropbox service. Simply use that one. You really don't bother how much memory, where this Gmail is going. The backend networking, that is something that you really don't require. That's why you don't own or manage the infrastructure on which the service runs. Cloud services are often subscription or consumption model. That means that you pay for the subscription. Yesterday what I did is, suppose when you go here and then when you see, I can have something called as a recording stopped or do this particular recording. So I can have the option of purchasing this storage within the cloud to record this thing, so that I need to pay something like $10 or $20 subscription. You pay the subscription and then you use. Okay. And one more thing is that the service scales as the demand changes. Like if you have 10 users, maybe when you want to increase it to 100 users, you pay for those extra thing, and then you can utilize those resources also as well. These are the examples of your cloud services that we can use. Now, for example, when you want to deploy a website, purchasing the hardware, installing and building that hardware, and then testing that one, and then hand over it to the operations. That is something that will take between 3 to 6 months on an average scale. But when you are using your cloud, what happens is that within a week or so, your website will be up and running, and then it will be available to all the users just in minutes. Just in week, you will be able to do that one. So that's the reason with the cloud, you're going to have something called as agility. Agility in the sense, we would like to speed up all the development efforts that are really required in order to make these things happen. That's the reason we'd like to go for this particular cloud. So when you're trying to deploy a website within the cloud, what we do here, we have this internet. You are from the corporate office. Now using this one, what itself is that you'll be utilizing a website and the database so that customers can start utilizing them. That means that admin users to deploy a website in the database. That's it. Sahja, don't you think that this environment itself is going to shorten the development time of deploying these particular websites using cloud? And one more thing is that using this particular cloud, it is not that you are trying to deploy the applications only locally, but you can have the option of deploying these applications globally also as well. You can have the option of deploying these applications globally also as well. This is what is the purpose of utilizing this particular cloud. So far, so good. Are any questions you are having?
No, it's good. I understand. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Kamlakar, Priyanka?
All cloud concepts, yeah.
Cool. Now, this is the time where we want to go with respect to the types of cloud service and deployments. First thing is private cloud. Private cloud in the sense, you maintain your virtual data center within your on-site premises itself, so that what you do is that you use your virtual machine, and what happens is that you will be utilizing, see, this is your server. Within the server, what you can do is that you try to utilize something called as the hypervisor, which is called as a virtual machine software. That hypervisor will be able to deploy multiple compute systems on a single server itself. That means that a private cloud must include self-service multi-tenancy. That means that within this single computer itself, you can have the option of having multiple users running their particular applications. Okay, this is what is called as a private cloud. That is something that can be implemented with the help of the VMware. VMware or something of that sort we use for deploying this particular private cloud. That means that one thing that you need to understand is this is a cloud where all the services can be utilized on demand, And the other thing what you do is that you are not only the person who will be taking the single ownership of this entire services, but multiple people can be utilizing the services within your own organization itself. That's the reason what we do is that it is treated as a private cloud. This is as good as trying to set up a home theater within your house. That means that when you're setting up a home theater within your house, not only you, but the members of your family can go into that home theater and then visit a movie and then see a movie, basically, right? That is what is the private cloud here. Okay, but now when we go to this particular private cloud, there is another thing called as this public cloud that exists. One minute. There is another thing called as this public cloud. Within this public cloud, what happens here? You are not only the person who will be utilizing these particular services. So within the cloud, what are the major services that we are talking about? The major services that are talking with respect to the cloud is compute. What is the purpose of compute? The main purpose of the compute is to utilize the computation power for the purpose of running your applications. This is just like your desktop or laptop. And then you need to have the storage. The storage is nothing but your memory and the hard disk also as well that we can specify. And then the network that exists. Basically, you need to maintain the network between a collection of so many computers. That's the reason we use this one. And finally, what you need to have is that you need to have this database. So these resources are available on the cloud. And Kamlakar, are you only the person who will be utilizing this cloud, or multiple organizations can start utilizing this cloud in the public cloud?
Multiple organizations.
Multiple users, multiple organizations will be utilizing this particular cloud. So what are all the examples of your cloud service providers? Amazon AWS is an example of a cloud service provider. And then Google Cloud Platform is an example of the cloud service provider. And then you have this Azure is an example of this cloud service provider. Are there any other things that you are having here? Yes, we have something like Alibaba Cloud is also there. You can use something like Rackspace that you can use. So in the private cloud, you are only the person who will be responsible within that one. So public cloud is something like going to a movie theater or a multiplex and then watching the movie, where multiple people will come and then watch the movie. That is something called as this public cloud here. Okay, so this is the public cloud, and then this is the private cloud. There is one more type of cloud that we can use. I just want to use something like a hybrid cloud.
Hey, Ravi, I have a question. So, what is the difference between this AWS Direct Connect and this private cloud? Isn't it?
Here I told you, right? You have something called as a software called as VMware software. VMware.
Okay.
When we use something like a VMware, what we can do is that within the data center itself, within your own data center itself, you can set up such a type of VMware. That means that when you have this machine that is being used, normally when you see this particular machine here, okay, if it is in your house, if this is your personal desktop, how many people will be using? You are only the person, you will be utilizing this computer, right? Basically, you are the sole person that will be utilizing this one. But when I install VMware on this desktop, what happens is that you can have the option of spinning 2 or 3 servers. That means that what happens here, whatever the amount of RAM that you are having will be utilized across multiple servers. Whatever the computer hard disk you are having, that will be utilized by multiple servers. That means that instead of running only one system, you can have the option of running multiple servers within the single server itself. Those servers are treated as virtual servers. So the virtual servers existing within a single physical computer system is treated as a private cloud that will be existing within your own data center, Sahja. That's why that type of cloud is treated as a private cloud. Okay. Within this private cloud, what we generally do is that that will be there within your own data centers. You will be utilizing something like Citrix or VMware virtualization softwares for the purpose of using this one, basically. See, you know something like a virtualization, right?
Right.
When we say something like a virtualization, what happens is we assume that that will be there, but in the case of virtualization, we will be assuming that the whole computer capacity what you are having here. Suppose when we go to this, I'll show you here. One minute. I'm just trying to show you the thing that you are having here. Suppose when you use your this PC, here you have something like 237 GB is there, right? So how many operating system you are having here? You will be having only one operating system that exists. But in the case of virtualization, what happens is that this 237 GB will not be utilized only by me. It will be utilized by more than one virtual server. Okay, such type of concept is called as virtualization. We'll be discussing that one. And using that virtualization, what happens is multiple operating systems, multiple applications can be installed on a single physical computer. That is what is called as this virtual server here, basically. Okay, so that is something that exists within your own data center, which is treated as a cloud. That means that what are the features of the cloud, what you are having, that will be existing within your own data center, where your company will be utilizing only those particular services. Then what we do is that we call such type of cloud as private cloud. Does it answer your question, Sajid?
Okay. Yes. Got it.
Now, when you go to your public cloud, what happens is that you are not only the one, right? Suppose when you go to this Amazon, there are AWS. Many companies will be hosting their applications on that cloud. That's why such type of cloud is treated as a public cloud. Okay. Now, there are a lot of disadvantages with respect to the public cloud. No, not many disadvantages basically, but suppose when you take up something like governmental organizations, okay, or else when you try to take about something like healthcare, or else when you try to talk about their insurance, what happens is that the social security numbers, okay, or the personal identifiable information is something that we don't want to keep it in the public cloud, right? Because of the security issues and all, we really don't want to keep them in the public cloud. Okay. Now what happens is that I just want to keep that one within the private cloud, especially the banking companies like Citibank and all those particular things, along with the insurance companies, the healthcare, the governmental organizations, at least like the atomic research centers, the nuclear centers, the governmental agencies where the information is very highly confidential. I cannot afford to keep all that information within the public cloud. That's the reason for an organization, in order to take the advantages of the public cloud and the private cloud, what they do is that they try to keep a type of cloud, and that is what is treated as the hybrid cloud. That is what is treated as the hybrid cloud. So within this hybrid cloud, what you're going to have here, you'll be making an internet connection to the public cloud, as well as you'll be making the connection to this private cloud. So Mandal Ravi, can you tell me what type of information that we can keep within this private cloud? What type of information? Or
It is
Priyanka?
Yeah,
the secure
like
information,
security. Yeah.
personal health information,
Yes.
or any kind of like banking information.
Yeah. So that means that any type of highly sensitive, confidential information only should be kept within the private cloud. But all the public cloud means any information that can be shared to the external customers, something of the sort that can be stored within the public cloud. That can be stored within the. Yeah.
Ravi, have a question. Is the public cloud is can't enough ability to store the secure information in the public clouds?
Nowadays, every public cloud like Amazon Web Services, Google, or Azure are coming up with their own highly powerful, okay, security mechanisms in order to safeguard the information. That's the reason. What is happening is that the tendency is trying to move from the public cloud to the private cloud to the public cloud is increasing. So many people are still going with that one, but there are a lot of restrictions for the government companies, right? So government companies, so whatever might be the case, I can't afford to put that information within the public cloud. That's why I prefer to keep that information only within the private cloud. That's the reason we need to have both this public and private clouds both exist within the ecosystem. Does it answer that question?
So this information is going to be secure in both the private cloud and public cloud. If that is the case, what would be the purpose of keeping the secure information in the public cloud, especially in the hybrid cloud, which we are discussing here, right? So still the security is as a concern, but it has to be supposed to be stored into the private cloud only, right?
ఇప్పుడు మీకు కంపెనీ జ్యూరిడిక్షన్స్ అన్ని తెలుస్తూ ఉంటాయి కదా, లీగల్ లా ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ అన్ని మీకు తెలుస్తూ ఉంటాయి కదా. ఓకే. సో అట్లాంటప్పుడు మనం ఏం చేస్తామంటే, నేను ఎట్టి పరిస్థితులను ఐ కెనాట్ ఎఫర్డ్ టు కీప్ ద డేటా విత్ ఇన్ ద పబ్లిక్ క్లౌడ్. దట్ ఈస్ ఎ బైలా. Okay. And one more thing is that there is a key concept, something like all the SSN numbers, right? Social security numbers, or else that Aadhaar card numbers, whatever you talk about, that information I cannot afford to keep in the cloud as per the company's compliance policy.
Okay, got it. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that's the reason we go with that one. Okay.
Ravi garu,
Yeah.
One question andi. So when companies opt to move the secure or the sensitive information to public cloud, will that be maintained in both the private and public cloud, or will it be completely, I mean, is that once they move it to public cloud, it would be only in the public cloud?
As a backup feature, ఇప్పుడు ఏంటంటే it determines the concept of trust, Priyanka. Okay. When I say something called as trust, what happens is some part of the data has to be kept only within the private cloud itself. Okay. The moment once I get the contents and once my whole data is matches the compliance and jurisdiction requirements of my locality or the zone where I'm staying, then I can move it to the public cloud. Otherwise, I don't move. Even though I move it into the public cloud, automatically what happens is that still I try to maintain my own copy within the private cloud also as well. The reason being, nothing is certain, right? You know that, right? Nothing is certain. Yeah. We have seen a number of scenarios where the data centers were down for a couple of days.
Right. Yeah, we had an incident similarly with the AWS down, I think sometime like last year. So that brings another question. Even big chains unnayandi already, they who adopted this to move completely to public cloud. Any examples?
ఇప్పుడు it depends అండి. ఇప్పుడు I work at I work in a Disney location.
Okay.
Even though I'm not really working for Disney, I stay in Orlando. Okay. There what happens is Disney ki they have their own Disney movies అనేది ఉంటుంది కదా basically.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So and Amazon also offers such a type of Netflix అనేది ఉంది కదా. Even Netflix uses Amazon wholly. AWS use చేస్తుంది Netflix అనేది. కానీ Disney కూడా they initially they trained with Amazon, and all their movies and everything, the Disney cartoon movies and everything what they're having, they were kept only within the Amazon cloud only, basically. Okay. Now what they have done is that since there is a non-compete agreement, non-compete agreement, because two competitors cannot exist with each other, because Amazon is having its own movies, Prime and Disney also have their own movies, so they cannot coexist within the same environment. As a reason, recently Disney has decided not to go with AWS anymore, and then bring all that thing back to their original private cloud itself. Such type of occasions we have seen, basically.
Okay. Thank you, Ravi garu. That was a good example.
Yeah, that is the way we are discussing about. And another thing is that indaka last year jarigindani cheptunnaru. In the present past also, we have seen a lot of
nene andi Priyanka.
Okay.
Anthem the Anthem ki AWS memu cloud తీసుకున్నాము. So last year there was, I mean, it was only for few hours, but it costed us a lot.
It costed us a lot. There were days where there were days for 2 days, 3 days also as well, that hurricane has hit and then the data centers were down, or because of some compromisation has happened and then the data centers were down, where we can't guarantee anything, basically, right? We cannot guarantee anything. That's the reason what really happens is it is always better to keep a backup copy of your own data, and despite of whatever cloud provider you chooses, and then try to keep that data over there also as well, basically, right? That's the way we generally try to go with that one. Okay, Sahaja, just to tell you like, okay, Kamalaka.
So, but how they say that 99.9% available, and then in case if the data center goes down, they will not.
When we store a particular file, what happens is దాంట్లో కూడా we are having a separate set of storage classes ఉంటాయి అన్నమాట. Storage classes ఎట్లా ఉంటాయంటే, for example, when you go to that S3, what we can do is that we can keep it in standard. అంటే స్టాండర్డ్ అంటే ఏమవుతుందంటే, ఇక సునామీలు అట్లాంటివి వస్తే తప్పితే ఆ ఫైల్ ఇంకెక్కడికి పోదన్నమాట, అలా పెడతారు. ఇంకా మిగతా లెస్ సర్టన్ అయితే ఉంటాయి వాటిని ఏం చేస్తారంటే కొంచెం దూరంగా ఉన్నటువంటి డేటా సెంటర్స్ లో స్టోర్ చేయడం అట్లాంటివి చేస్తూ ఉంటారు అనమాట.
Data backup more in different centers, it will be costlier.
Obviously కాస్ట్ ఇంక్లూడ్ అవుతుందండి, దాని బేసిక్గా కాస్ట్ ఇంక్లూడ్ అవుతుంది. ఓకే, డిపెండ్స్. అంటే when going to Amazon, I'll tell you, like in the Amazon, what happens is that we have the storage classes. ఓకే, మీరు ఏదైతే ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ ని అసలు ఒక 1 year పాటు కంప్లీట్ గా రిట్రీవ్ చేయరు అనుకుంటారో, దట్ డేటా వాట్ వి డూ ఇస్ దట్ వి ట్రై టు కీప్ ఇట్ ఇన్ వన్ టైప్ ఆఫ్ కంటైనర్ కాల్డ్ ఎస్ గ్లేషియర్స్ అంటారు. గ్లేషియర్స్ డీప్ ఆర్కైవ్ అని చెప్పి అంటారు అనమాట. వాటిలో పెట్టి మనం అసలు ఇంకా కదిలించం అనమాట. వి కాల్ దట్ వన్ ఎస్ ఎ వాల్ట్. సో అట్లాంటి వాటిలో పెట్టినప్పుడు దట్ జనరలీ దట్ డజంట్ హ్యాపెన్ అంటారు అనమాట. అందుకని ఆ డ్యూరబిలిటీ అనేది దే ట్రై టు మెయింటైన్ దట్ వన్ యాజ్ 99.11 అని చెప్పి అంటారు కమలాపూర్ బేసికల్గా.
Yeah.
But as I told you, right, nothing is certain. So that's how it works అనమాట బేసికల్గా. ఫెయిల్యూర్ ప్రాబబిలిటీస్ అనేవి కంపల్సరీగా పెడతారు. We just believe that we just have a trust and then we go with them basically. ఎందుకంటే we have seen a lot of cases, like even the LinkedIn, okay, even the Twitter, okay, even the Facebook. There are couple of times even your credit agency companies also as well, they have become compromised, and then the whole servers and websites were down basically, and our credit history is also at risk at a lot of times also as well. Such type of examples we have seen in the past basically. So every time when we come up with a high secured, smart, intelligent way of storing the data, the dark cloud is also becoming that much smarter in order to attack the things. Those things happens to be your cyber attacks basically, that generally happens. Okay, so that's how these things happen basically. But we assume that the whole data happens to be secured, and we try to keep it in both the two places. And no matter whether you keep your data within your AWS, something of that sort, we always need to have a backup strategy to come from that failure capabilities అనేది generally we need to maintain. Otherwise that really hurts somewhat basically. If you don't, we need to pay for the things that what we do here basically. Okay, and nowadays and in the Sahaja I was telling you, right, we can use something like VMware you can use. Otherwise you can also have the option of using this OpenStack. OpenStack is another company that provides all your virtualization of servers within your private cloud also as well. Okay, where this is something like an Amazon public cloud only, but here that exists within your data center. That's the reason we try to keep this one here. Okay, multi-cloud means
what was the hypervision on the VMware private cloud? Can you just elaborate a little bit on the hypervision?
Okay, that is treated as a virtualization software. Virtualization software ante, I was telling you, right, when you have this memory that exists, that PC I have told, right, when you have this memory that exists, or else when you go and then when you try to see these particular properties,
okay,
so you have some RAM that exists, right, you have some RAM that exists,
right.
That installed RAM is 8 GB is there, right? So and this is my single physical computer that I'm having. Okay, but when I use something like OpenStack or hypervisor on my laptop, what I do is that I can have the option of configuring multiple servers in the single server. Okay, one server is of Linux and one server is of Windows. I can spin it up so that what happens is that this 8 GB of RAM what you're having here will be utilized by those Linux server and Windows server. Okay, and then keeping your parent server as it is. And the GB of RAM, what I have told you here, the GB hard disk, what you're having here, will be shared across these 2 or 3 virtual servers. So we assume that we are having only a single system, but in place of the single system, what happens is that 2 or 3 virtual servers will be utilizing these machines. That is what is called as the, so the software that is responsible for creating such a type of virtualizations is called as hypervision basically, that we do here basically. Did you get the point?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what we do here in this particular case. Okay, so this is what happens to be your public, private and hybrid clouds that we discussed here. Now another thing is that this is what I was telling you, right? This is the hypervisor. Based on this hypervisor, what we do is that this is one VM that we have installed. What is this one VM? It is nothing but your Linux operating system. I can also have the option of selecting this one and then create one more virtual machine and then have that Windows installed. So when that Windows is installed, what happens here? Your resource will be shared across other things, and this is something that is being virtualized with the help of this virtual hypervisor in this particular case. Okay. Now, coming to this one, types of cloud service models. What you're having is that we have this private cloud, which we discussed. IaaS. What is that IaaS? Anybody can tell me what is that IaaS?
Infrastructure as
Infrastructure
service.
as service.
Infrastructure as a service.
As service,
And then PaaS is platform as a service. And then the other thing what you're having is software as a service.
Software as service.
Software as a service. Okay. Now, the first thing that the easiest part that we can do is this software as a service. What is the software as a service? Gmail you're using, right, Saja? Is that Gmail developed by you or me? No, right?
No.
It has been developed by Google. Okay. What servers, what software, what applications they have used, do you really care about those things? We really don't care about these things, right? What we need to really care about is we just get onto the laptop, open that Gmail app, send the email, receive the email, and do the things. That's it. Okay. Similarly, when you're having a Wells Fargo banking app, what we do, we go there, open the account, transfer the funds, see the balances, and then transfer the funds. That's all we can do with respect to that app. So that means that we really don't care about the operating system, the runtime environment, the apps, and other things we really don't care about. Okay. So such a type of cloud service model is your software as a service. Is software as a service. The reason why I'm trying to talk about software as a service is your Snowflake, what you're having here, Kamalakar, is a software as a service. Is a software as a service. Okay. And it exists within the public cloud. It exists within the public cloud. So this is a cloud-based data warehouse, which is nothing but software as a service. Snowflake. Okay. So that is what is the software as a service here. The second thing that we need to understand is what is this infrastructure as a service? This is important. Infrastructure as a service means what they do is that for any type of computer, what are the things that are really required? You tell me. If we want to develop an application, what is something that we want here? If we want to develop
RAM,
I need
storage.
the RAM. I need the OS, operating system, as well as I need this hard disk, as well as I need to use the CPU, as well as I need to use this networking, right?
Yeah.
Networking. So don't worry about this software. OS is a software basically. This thing, what you're having here, basically comes as an infrastructure, right? RAM, hardware, CPU, and then this networking happens to be your infrastructure. Okay. The cloud service providers like Amazon, Google, or Azure provides only this infrastructure. Okay. So when they're providing this infrastructure, and what you're supposed to do here, you're supposed to install that operating system on your own. So OS has to be installed on your own. Okay. Any compilers or runtime environments like JRE, Java runtime environment, something of that sort has to be installed on your own. The data is your own. And then what is the other one that you're having here? Like the applications, what you are having here on your own here. So if the cloud is going to provide these things, okay, and then the software also as well, like Java software. And you will be responsible for these things. Such type of cloud service model, what you're having here is basically treated as infrastructure as a service. Infrastructure as a service, basically. Okay. And what is the other one that you're having here? The other one, what you're having is PaaS. What is that PaaS here? The PaaS is nothing but platform as a service. Within this platform as a service, what we generally do is, apart from this infrastructure, what I do is that I'll bring my Java platform. Got it? I'll bring my Java platform here. Paste this one here. Sorry. This Java happens to be here. Java happens to be here, along with the JRE happens to be here. JRE means runtime environment happens to be here. And then what you have is that the operating system also happens to be here. Okay. And then what you are responsible? You are responsible for your applications and data. You are responsible for your applications and data. And data. Then what is this one called? This is treated as your software as a platform as a service. Is that clear, Kamalagar, what we are doing here?
Yes.
This is treated as platform as a service. Okay. And the third thing what you're having is software as a service. So when you go to this software as a service, what really happens is suppose I copy this one, I paste this one, and I paste this one here. Along with this one, I'll also include the applications. Applications are also developed. What are the applications that has been developed here? Sending the email, receiving the email, and dropping the emails, thrashing the emails, all those particular things has been given to you. And what you are responsible, you're responsible only for your data. You're responsible only for your data. Such type of system is treated as SaaS. Such type of system is treated as software as a service here. Okay. So now coming back, and then when you try to see this one here, in terms of what exactly is this one, you can see here, infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and then software as a service here. In the software as a service, even though when we try to bring the data on our own, that is going to be totally managed by your cloud service provider only. So see here, virtualization. So somebody was asking, like, the hypervision is nothing but your virtualizations. The servers, the storage, and the networking, what you're having here happens to be managed by the cloud service provider. Others means the cloud service provider. And what you're maintaining here, operating system, middleware, runtime, data, and applications is being maintained by you. But in the case of this platform as a service, data is being maintained by you and applications are being maintained by you, and all the other things what you're having here gets maintained by the cloud service provider here. And software service provider, everything is going to be managed by the cloud service provider only to you. Now, when you try to install your private cloud, it is your own responsibility to manage and maintain all these particular things basically here. That's the reason what we do is that you need to have a complete understanding between these three types of cloud computing types: infrastructure, platform, and then software. Okay. Now the question is, into what category this Snowflake is considered? Can anybody tell me?
SaaS.
Snowflake is considered as a SaaS. That is
Software as a service.
Software as a service here. That's the reason it is treated as magical. Yesterday I was telling you it is treated as magical data warehouse. Okay. Now, can anybody refer to this slide and then tell me what is really going with this one? Sajia, can you tell me what is going on here?
So if we have infrastructure as a service, we have more control over everything, like and software.
Yeah, we have more control over anything. In the sense, when I say something called as more control, in the sense, what happens is you bring your own operating system, you bring your own applications, okay, you bring your own software, you bring your own applications and data, except that storage, networking, and computing power, everything is something that will be in your control. That's the reason it is going to be a more control. But when you have more control, what is less convenient? This is less convenient, right? Because every time when you try to install, you need to take care of a lot of things. For example, today you have installed your operating system here. Today you have installed your operating system. Tomorrow a couple of patches are coming to upgrade your operating system, then what you have to do? Don't you need to update your patches accordingly? You need to update your patches accordingly, right? So that is in an inconvenient way. So that means that the place where you have more control, there's a place where you have your less convenience. But here, it is more convenience but less control on the control. Nothing is in your control. Everything happens to be under the control of Snowflake. That's the reason when you try to go with this one, you'll be having a increase in convenience, but you are going to have this less control in the case of this SaaS basically. So we are confining in Snowflake with respect to this SaaS, which is software as a service. Okay. Now coming back to this one, can anybody explain what you're doing here? Public cloud, so many people will be used by multiple organizations, less cost. Kamlaka, can you tell me why is this less cost over there?
There don't be any compute costs, so it is own.
Ante, when so many people start utilizing your services based on demand, what happens is that it comes at less cost, right? It comes at less cost. And another thing is that it is reliable. Of course, people say that is reliable only, and it is location independent. Okay. It is not your data center that is located near to your office. It is something that is not, even by staying in Florida, US also as well, I can have the option of setting up a server in Hyderabad or in Mumbai using AWS. That I can do. Okay. And private cloud, I have told you, build only for one organization, most secure and flexible. You have this one here. Hybrid in the sense, you have your organization having your private cloud and the public cloud. It is going to be a cost-effective here, basically, in this particular case. Okay. So this is what is the difference between private cloud, public cloud, along with the hybrid cloud, that what we are discussing here, basically.
What was the VPC? Is the VPC is not part of the public cloud, or that is
VPC
something?
is the part of the public cloud only, right? Virtual private cloud.
Right.
See, VPC means what you do is that within the public cloud itself, you'll be trying to reserve some area so that within the, you understand what I'm saying, right? Within the public cloud itself, you try to reserve some area where the servers, the memory, the hard disk, and the computing is exclusively used only by you or nothing by any other company. That is what is called as a placeholder for you within the public cloud, is what is treated as a virtual private cloud in the public cloud. Okay.
These providers also provide the private cloud for any organization, AWS or Azure or Google.
Yeah, they provide the private cloud also. You have a couple of concepts called as outposts. What they do is that they come and then provide all the infrastructure required to set up your private cloud within your data center itself. That thing, what we do is that we call them as outposts, AWS outposts, which is having which is basically a private cloud but facilitated by AWS. Okay. So it is something like this, right? Whenever our elder parents are getting old, we really don't want to keep them in the hospital or in the rehabilitation area. But what we do is that we'll try to simulate that environment in our house and then keep them in our place, right? So such type of thing is the outpost what I'm talking, Kamlakar. Okay. Yeah. Now, before I conclude, told you right. Traditional IT, I have told you right, human involvement is very much required. Limited public access, monthly internally accessible, single tenant. Usage is usually not measured, basically. Usage is not measured in the case of this public cloud here. Okay. Then I told you like 5 essential characteristics of cloud computing. What is this one? On-demand self-service. Can anybody tell me what is this on-demand self-service? You utilize these services whenever you want. If you don't want, what you can do is that you can terminate those services, or else you can free up those particular services so that people can have the option of utilizing the services at a later point of time. That is what is treated as on-demand self-service. Then what you're having is resource pooling. Told you right, the services what you're having here can be used by multiple users. That's why it is treated as resource pooling. Rapid elasticity, right? Resources can be quickly provisioned and then dismantled, can be scaled up and down. If you need more storage, you use. And then if you don't need that storage, what you do is that you return that storage. That is what is that something like up and down effortlessly, and then they can be quickly provisioned in the case of this rapid elasticity. And then measured service means you pay for that particular service only what you use. This is like a method building, what we do basically here. Broad network access means I have told you, right? It is not only across your laptop or your desktop or your mobile or your iPad, tablet, any place you can have the option of utilizing those services. Any place you can have the option of utilizing those particular services. That's why these are all the 5 essential concepts of this cloud computing in this particular case. Okay, these are the things that we need to understand here. Okay, so we will continue these concepts tomorrow, not the cloud computing concepts. I think you have understood what is the cloud and what are the features, what is public, private, and hybrid clouds, what is infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. I have told you. I'll be sharing these particular PPTs and recordings the moment once your registrations gets completed by next Monday. Then the next thing is that tomorrow we'll be discussing the data warehousing concepts, what are really required. Okay, and Friday we are going to start with the free trial version of Snowflake, and then we'll jump into the Snowflake introduction of the cloud platform Friday. That is what is the roadmap that you are going to do. I have another 2 minutes of time. In case if you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, I'll tell you my email ID and phone number. You can talk to me at any point of time, and then we will discuss there. Okay. I hope everybody is following, right? Sahaja, I hope you are following, right? Sahaja and Sirisha, Sunita, Susmita, the 4 S's.
Yes.
Mandal Ravi, Babu Rao Garu, Saranya, Kamlaka.
Yeah, fine.
Yeah, this is just the beginning, and the moment once we complete the data warehousing concepts tomorrow, we will start getting into Snowflake from Friday. That is the big day where we'll start off with respect to the architecture and we get into the environment. So the practical hands-on and everything will be starting from next week. Okay, but tomorrow and day after tomorrow, we are really going to discuss. At what timings we will be having the classes from next Monday, because there is a daylight saving that is coming. So shall we stick on to this class, or do we need to move 1 hour ahead? That is something that we need to check out, and then I'll keep you posted all. Okay. Thank you so much.
Ravi.
Yeah. Hi.
So for every time we have to be explain these cloud services to in all the interviews every time.
Sorry.
Every time we have to be explained to the interviewers.
Interviews?
I'm asking that if we are going for any interview for Snowflake or any, okay, so we have to be explain these cloud services to the interviewer, correct?
If they ask, you need to explain. They might ask some questions on this cloud computing concepts also as well, because cloud computing happens to be the prerequisite for any type of thing what you do in AWS, Azure, Snowflake, or Google. Basically, these are the fundamentals that you need to really understand. Okay.
If you're a fresher, then you have to answer, and then in case if you're going with a prior experience, they mostly won't go into this.
Yeah, they don't go into these things. It depends on the resume and the skill set that you are putting into that one. Okay.
But this is required for our understanding.
Yeah, this is required for your understanding. Because tomorrow onwards we'll be logging only into the Snowflake cloud, and then we'll be discussing these things out there. Okay.